3 days. Hold that number in your head. 3 days. 72 hours in a cell with rats on the floor, sewage on the floor, and nowhere to sit. 3 days without sleep. 3 days hearing the same threat on repeat. You will spend the rest of your life in prison, and we will charge you with treason. This did not happen in 1985. This did not happen under apartheid. This is what Paul O'Sullivan says happened in 2016 in democratic South Africa, and he just told Parliament the whole story. If you do not know who Paul O'Sullivan is, you need to hear what comes next. Hit like, subscribe, because we are not going to stop digging. O'Sullivan is a forensic investigator who has spent decades chasing high-level corruption in South Africa's police and state institutions. He says that is exactly why he became a target. According to his testimony before Parliament's ad hoc committee, on the 1st of April 2016, O'Sullivan was pulled off a London-bound flight at OR Tambo International Airport. He was arrested by the Hawks, the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, in front of his 2 young daughters. In a written account, O'Sullivan says his daughters had to travel overseas alone 2 days later. He also says he did not see them again for more than 3 months because his passports were taken and not returned. The charge? Using his Irish passport to enter and leave South Africa, a legally obtained passport. The allegation was that, as a South African citizen, he entered and left on a foreign passport. And immigration experts quoted in the media described the arrest as highly unusual, possibly unprecedented. And after that, according to his own words before Parliament, a cascade of trials began.
And they shared a copy of it with General Pashlani. And General Pashlani then arranged for other police officials to come and unlawfully arrest me, drag me off a plane, assault me, torture me, and then start a process to arrest me and charge me on no fewer than, and I had to go to court on 6 different trials. And I spent 88 days in trial and 140 days.
And out of that 6 different trials, how many were withdrawn?
3 were withdrawn. I was acquitted on 3.
6 trials, 88 days in court, 3 charges withdrawn, acquitted on the other 3, 0 convictions. But what happened during his detention is what really shakes you. In his statement before the members of Parliament, O'Sullivan described being transferred to Pretoria and placed in a cell under conditions he called subhuman and degrading. And when a member of Parliament asked him directly how he was tortured, this is what he said.
Yeah, I'm just saying, was it a catalyst?
I think it could have been.
Thank you. In paragraph 147, Mr. O'Sullivan, you stated that you were tortured for 3 days. Who tortured you? Where did this take place? And do you have any evidence, photos of anything of this?
So
torture marks?
If you take a look at the act that deals with torture, it's all set out in the complaint I made at the time. So, thanks. If you look at the definition of torture, and I'm just going to call it up quickly, you will see exactly what the definition of torture is.
Mr. Sullivan, sorry, I've got very little time from a full member. So just, do you have anything, any proof of a torture of a physical nature? Let me rather put it that way to you.
There's different types of torture. It wasn't physical.
Okay, how were you tortured? You can just give me the reason how you were tortured, Mr. Sullivan.
Okay, Act 13 of 2013 sets out quite clearly what torture is. And it states quite clearly, torture has a meaning assigned to it in section 3. And it's defined as, the purpose of this act, torture means any act by which severe pain or suffering, whether physical or mental, is intentionally inflicted on a person for such purpose as to either obtain information, punish him or her for an act he or she or any other person has committed, or intimidate or coerce him.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I understand. I'm asking, how were you tortured then? You can explain to me.
Okay, so I was taken and placed in a cell with rats running around and sewage on the floor with nowhere to sit. And I was repeatedly told that I'd be in prison for the rest of my life. I will be charged with treason. And that process went on for 3 days and nights. And I wasn't allowed to sleep.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. And I'm asking these questions, not that I'm saying you're saying the truth, not saying the truth. What I'm saying is many South Africans go there, and it's why we're sitting here. Because I think many South Africans sit in cells that are dirty, sewage on the floor. And that's exactly what we do as oversight. And we need to better on that.
Rats, sewage, nowhere to sit, no sleep, threats of treason for 3 straight days. When the MP asked whether he had physical evidence of torture, O'Sullivan clarified it was not physical torture in the traditional sense. It was psychological. It was a system of pressure designed to break him. Now, there is a key detail here. South African law has legislation called the Prevention and Combating of Torture of Persons Act. That law was passed in 2013 to make torture a specific criminal offense in South Africa, and its definition is not limited to broken bones. It includes severe pain or suffering, whether physical or mental, inflicted intentionally for a purpose like intimidation or coercion. So if his account is accurate, what he describes could fit that definition. But let us step back for a moment. Why was he really arrested? According to O'Sullivan's version and his lawyers, the arrest had nothing to do with a passport. It was retaliation. O'Sullivan had been opening criminal dockets against high-ranking police officers, members of the prosecuting authority, and figures close to then-President Jacob Zuma, including Dudu Myeni, who chaired South African Airways. His lawyers filed a formal complaint with IPID, the police oversight body, alleging the arrest was used as a tool of intimidation, that it was designed to punish him for exposing corruption and to stop him from continuing his investigations. According to legal documents, during his detention, the Hawks tried to get O'Sullivan to cooperate and hand over information about the officials he was investigating. They offered him police bail if he collaborated. When it was revealed that the conversations had been recorded, the officials reportedly changed their position and stopped opposing bail. This suggests something very specific. They were not looking for a criminal. They were looking for information, and they used the cell as a bargaining tool. But O'Sullivan did not only speak about his own experience. In his testimony before the ad hoc committee, he connected his case to something much bigger, the disbandment of the Scorpions. The Scorpions were South Africa's elite investigation and prosecution unit. They operated under the prosecuting authority, not under the police. Their specialty was organized crime and high-level corruption. And they were investigating cases that directly touched political power.
It seems that you're saying that once former President Zuma became the president of the ANC, I think it was in the December 2007, it is the ANC under his leadership that called for the closure of the Scorpions as they were effective against corruption. Is my understanding correct?
I'm not sure I understand what your understanding is.
It was under President Zuma's leadership of the ANC that the Scorpions were closed.
Yes, I believe that.
And they were effective at the time because they were going for politicians and high level.
What paragraph are we talking about?
37?
This is after Polokwane.
Yes, it's at the end of the paragraph.
The conference called for the ANC policy to disband the Scorpions. I think that's common cause. And the disbanding of, my understanding is that the disbanding of the Scorpions was intended to curtail high-profile corruption investigations. And if you look at the Glenister judgment, it's quite clear that that application was intended to either save the Scorpions or to have something that stood independent from the police. And that's what led to the changes in Section 17 of the Police Service Act and the creation of the DPCI.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. And it might be common cause for some of us, but many people don't know all these. This is why I'm asking these questions. Is it correct that within 2 years, the Scorpions were totally disbanded? That's from 2007. And this was the mark of the start of the significant corruption we see today. Is that correct?
What paragraph are you on that?
It's straight after that paragraph. You just said within 2 years, the Scorpions were totally disbanded.
Yeah, I think it was 2.5 years.
Would I be correct to assume, because as you allude to the witnesses, Mr. Salebi and Mr. Mbeki, who tried to help him, former President Zuma was a catalyst to what we see today as one of the major reasons that we're sitting here?
According to O'Sullivan, the push to disband the Scorpions came from ANC politics at the time and was later implemented by government, which he argues was meant to curb investigations that threatened powerful figures. And the Member of Parliament said it plainly. That was the starting point of the significant corruption we see today. O'Sullivan also connected the rivalry between former presidents Thabo Mbeki and Jacob Zuma to political interference in investigations. According to his testimony, the power struggle that erupted before the ANC's Polokwane conference in 2007 created fertile ground for security structures to be used as political weapons. And then there are the so-called spy tapes. O'Sullivan told the committee that those secret recordings exposed a coordinated effort to halt the criminal prosecution of Zuma. The acting head of the prosecuting authority used those tapes as justification to drop the fraud and corruption charges against Zuma shortly before he was sworn in as president in 2009. But there is something else on those tapes. According to O'Sullivan, the recordings also mention him directly. In his words before the committee, the tape contains a phrase that says something like, "Let us not worry about O'Sullivan. We will bring somebody in that will deal with him decisively." Think about what that means. If his version is correct, the state apparatus did not just want to stop an investigation, it wanted to stop the investigator. Now, let us talk about the numbers. This is where the story shifts. O'Sullivan explained to Parliament how the Crime Intelligence Secret Fund works, commonly known as the slush fund, and the numbers are hard to ignore.
And that money is supposed to be used to pay the informers to get information pertaining to criminal activity. And then if the information is good and it results in arrests, the informers get paid. Now, what I couldn't understand is how General Mkhwanazi was able to claim at the Madlanga Commission and in Parliament that he was managing informers. And I have made the suggestion at paragraph 81, Chairman, that if the committee wants to get to the bottom of the root of all evil in the police, it needs to start with the slush fund. Because if they can stop the wanton theft of millions of rand, which is stolen in secret and spent in secret with zero accountability, and in fact, the loose strings around the purse of the slush fund results in inside factional battles within the police, because many senior police officials want to get their hands on these taxpayer funds. And it's a fact of life that in 2012-2013 financial year, the slush fund budget was 98 million rand a year. In the 13 years since then, it's grown to 600 million rand a year, which is a 500% increase. During the same period, Chairman, we've had inflation of 113%. So we have not seen a concomitant drop in serious crime. In fact, we've seen the opposite. We've seen crime increase in the last 13 years.
98 million rand in 2012, 600 million today, about a 500% increase. And crime did not go down. It went up. The official purpose of that fund is to pay police informants in exchange for information about criminal organizations. But because of the secret nature of the transactions, according to reports, There is little to no real oversight of how the money is spent. In previous testimony before the same committee, a former SAPS finance official who dealt with crime intelligence funding stated that his problems began when he allegedly refused to authorize 45 million rand from the fund to buy a communications interception device and to finance an ANC faction at the Nasrec conference in 2017. At the Zondo Commission on State Capture, another investigator testified that the former head of crime intelligence had allegedly used the secret fund for luxury hotels, private flights, and personal expenses, disguised as intelligence projects with code names. Do you see the pattern? Money that should be fighting crime being used, according to multiple testimonies, to fuel internal power battles within the police. And now, the question O'Sullivan puts forward. If witnesses are being eliminated and criminals operate from inside the system, what happens to those who try to speak?
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the problem we have in South Africa today, that many witnesses will be murdered if they give evidence. And if I talk, for example, about the Matlanga Commission, we no longer have a witness D and we no longer have a witness F. And it's a matter of time before witness A, B, C, E are not around either. The reality of the situation is that there's so much corruption in the criminal justice system, and there's so many criminals with badges. If it's not stopped, this country will go into a decline that it will never recover from.
Let's move to another question. Again, I'm not getting any answer on this one.
Criminals with badges. That is the phrase O'Sullivan uses. Witness D is gone. Witness F is gone. And he says it is only a matter of time before the rest disappear too. In December 2025, O'Sullivan moved his family out of South Africa again. In emails to Parliament and to the prosecuting authority, he described what he called a state-sanctioned plot to kill him. According to his own testimony, over the past 15 years, there have been 10 attempts on his life. In 1996, he was shot 3 times. There are currently people on trial for attempting to murder him. And when he finally arrived at Parliament in February 2026 under tight security, things did not go smoothly. O'Sullivan also questioned why the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Police Commissioner was silent about alleged criminal activity within the Political Killings Task Team, a unit created to investigate political murders. According to O'Sullivan, 4 members of that unit provided him with sworn statements anonymously in which they admitted to receiving money from a university official. None of those implicated were suspended or arrested, but the most tense moment came when an Action SA member of Parliament confronted him directly. She accused him of receiving 100,000 rand from the Crime Intelligence Secret Fund, and she did it with documents in her hand.
Mr. Sullivan, here is the check made out to you, 100,000, from the very root of all evil that you have received when you came here telling us that this is the root of, you too have benefited from the manna of heaven.
Not true.
Not true.
Not true.
Mr. Sullivan, and I can provide this request for advance reimbursement. Here's the application. Here's the money you've deposited into your net bank account.
Can I answer, or are you going to carry on talking? May I?
I'm showing you the proof.
You're not showing me the proof. I can't read what you've put in front of yourself there.
You can take it. You can. Here we go.
Then you also make copies for honorable members too. Is that the only document that you are circulating?
Excuse me, Chair.
Is that the only document you are circulating?
I can circulate this as well. The team can just come. I can do the application for the 100,000. I can send you the motivation. It's all here. Application for reward for Mr. Paul O'Sullivan. We'll just compile it nicely and then just give to the members. Shall we go? Chair, this is taking up my time. I think, and my time is almost up.
Yeah, you should have arranged with Bonani before the meeting.
Yeah, I should have arranged with him. But nevertheless, I want to conclude that you have repeatedly stated that you did not receive any money, Mr. Paul O'Sullivan. And today I have brought receipts to prove to you that you have lied to this house under oath. And because you have lied to this house under oath, and we do have the evidence, as Action SA, after this meeting, we will be opening up and laying criminal charges against you. I leave it at that. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, Chair, am I allowed to respond, or am I just going to sit here and listen to the lies being peddled by the honourable member?
It's me.
O'Sullivan denied it. He said the money came from the Scorpions, not from crime intelligence, that it was a reimbursement for expenses he advanced, including security for a witness and the use of his aircraft. He said he spent more than R500,000 and was only refunded 100,000. The MP insisted he lied under oath. O'Sullivan accused her of peddling lies. Action SA announced it would file criminal charges. At the end of the first day, O'Sullivan threatened to withdraw from the proceedings. He said he came to present evidence, not to be interrogated. He called the committee a kangaroo court. Let us pause here for a moment. What we have is an investigator who alleges he was unlawfully arrested, held in degrading conditions for 3 days, threatened with treason charges, and put through multiple trials that did not result in a single conviction. We have a secret fund that grew from 98 million to 600 million rand, with no one able to explain where all that money goes. We have an elite investigation unit, the Scorpions, that was dismantled just when it was investigating the most powerful. And we have a man who says there have been 10 attempts on his life and that the witnesses who could confirm the allegations are disappearing. Now it is your turn. Was O'Sullivan's arrest a legitimate operation, or was it retaliation orchestrated by those he was investigating? Who authorized placing him in that cell with rats and sewage for 3 days? And why has a fund that is supposed to fight organized crime grown by 500% without crime going down? Leave me your thoughts in the comments. If you think this story needs to reach more people, share it. And if you are not subscribed yet, you know what to do. This is not over.